removing the perspective that we used to have about vocational training in this country is probably the most important thing to do to save the US job.
We are building learning profiles of students and then letting that inform the pedagogy, not the other way around.
One size does not fit all. Everyone has a different life, different expectations, and different ways of learning.
We need to find career happiness to have a better life.
Welcome to Better Careers, Better Lives, a show that features leaders in education, technology, and the skilled trade industries, and how they are making an impact in their respective fields by providing pathways to better careers and better lives. I'm your host, Doug Donovan, founder and CEO of Interplay Learning. On today's show, my guest is Kennon Harrison, Vice President of Workforce Partnerships at Reverture. Kennon, welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to join you and to talk about what we're trying to do. I think more broadly to talk about talent enablement and empowering people.
Yeah, so let's start at the basics. Let's start at Revature because you have a unique model, and I think it has could potentially have huge impact well beyond Revature. So yeah, just break it down for us if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been in business for almost a decade. We're the largest employer of entry-level emerging technology talent in the United States, as ranked by LinkedIn, so take that for what it's worth. We're trying to hire several thousand people this year. And really our model is what's referred to in the industry as hire, train, deploy. The reason self-explanatory to some extent, but what we do is we hire thousands of people based on aptitude potential. We give them an opportunity, generally folks that otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity to get into a tech career. Mm-hmm. We assess every single person that we hire, again, to ascertain that level of aptitude, right, and potential for success. And then we put every single person that we hire into these roles through a 3-month-long apprenticeship. Paid apprenticeship, full-time W-2 position, health, dental, vision, 401k, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But the kicker is that apprenticeship is not all one size fits all, right? It is fully remote, it's fully synchronous, usually about 25-to-1 trainer to trainee ratio, apprentice to trainer ratio. But the skills and competencies that are being delivered to our employees in this on-the-job apprenticeship training program are explicitly those skills, competencies, and certifications that industry is looking for in terms of the tech roles that they need.
And you know that because you're partners with the industry directly, correct?
That's exactly right. So it's not just us guessing. It's not just us reading labor data. Right. It is us going every single week to Fortune 500 companies, to huge government organizations, to anywhere there's a large need for tech talent and a difficulty supplying that need, and listening to them and saying, what do you need next quarter? What do you need next year? What do you need 3 years from now? What do you need 5 years from now? And then building those curriculum as apprenticeships accordingly.
Got it. So, I'm a college grad and you focus on college grad. And why there? Why start at college? Is it because you've just learned that that's where your highest success is?
Yeah. So everything we do is driven by industry. Right, as I just said, right? So not just the skills and competencies, but also the needs of an individual company, right? Pick your Fortune 500 company. We have about 80 partners, client partners. And what they have historically wanted and needed have been bachelor's degree holders, right? We've subverted that expectation and we've actually gotten to the point where now the majority of our clients are not only open, but understand the value of hiring, training, and deploying associate's degree holders. We're moving now.
Oh, no kidding. So you're moving from 4-year degrees to some 2-year degrees.
And we've been doing it for a long time.
Oh, okay.
About 20, I would say probably between, don't quote me on this.
Yeah.
Obviously you are quoting me. Probably between 15 and 20% of all of the almost 10,000 hires we made in the last 9 years have had an associate's degree.
Interesting.
And the interesting thing about that, right, is not just that they have associate's degrees, and not just that we're open to hiring associate's degrees, and not just that we can prove mathematically that they are, from an outcomes perspective and a work readiness perspective, functionally the same as bachelor's degree holders when it comes to entry-level tech jobs. 70% of all of the people we've ever hired don't have a tech degree of any kind.
When they enter, they have no tech, so they probably have a liberal arts of some sort.
It's about 40% have some kind of STEM degree that isn't tech, 30% have computer science, and 30% have no STEM whatsoever.
And so they come with you, they spend 4 months, 3 months in that program.
10 to 12 weeks.
In essence, you guys are a new generation of a staffing company, I would think.
Yeah, so to some extent, I don't mean to jump in.
Yeah.
There are opportunities for our clients to take on our talent earlier in the process than generally would be the case.
Got it.
But the vast majority of our clients are actually under a contract to hire model. So what we're doing is we're, at the end of this training, we're putting these folks out onto projects, gaining real world work experience as consultants for a big Fortune 500 company. And at the end of 12 to 18 months, we're giving that talent to our partners for free.
Got it. So there's, interesting. So that's a unique twist in that there's no conversion fee for that employer.
In that case.
case.
If somebody really loves a resource and they're like, well, we can't promote them until they're our employee, we have ways to work that out for sure.
Got it.
Yeah.
And you use the term apprenticeship, right? It's obviously it's at some level it's a protected term, right? The moment you start using apprenticeship, a lot of times they say, well, is the Department of Labor involved? Is there, how does that work? And typically we hear of apprenticeships in things like skilled trades or unions, et cetera. So talk me through your definition of apprenticeship and what that actually translates to.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, just to take a step back, and you said you used the phrase skilled trades. To me, and this is my opinion, the interesting thing about tech jobs as we kind of view them today, software engineering, software development, full stack Java, et cetera, but also cybersecurity and low-code, no-code jobs in ecosystems like Salesforce or Pega or UiPath or whatever it is. I believe these are the skilled trade jobs of the 21st century, or our new skilled trade jobs, right? Yeah. The manufacturing boom that happened during World War II and in the years following, if you look at, there are a lot of similarities to what the talent crunch and the demand, and what you're doing with a full-stack developer skill set is you're creating code, right? You're building assets that are usable to achieve goals. In whatever business setting you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so it gets lumped in, and I come from the higher ed world, right? It gets lumped in with quantum mechanics and structural engineering. It's not the same, right? These are hard skills. These are hard skills that can never be taken away from you, that are in incredibly high demand. And so when we talk about apprenticeships and it being kind of weird to say, is this an apprenticeship model? Well, yeah, it is, because these are skills you don't have to don't have to be a computer science major to be able to do this effectively. And in fact, we're starting to find that there are significant benefits to folks that are coming from non-traditional backgrounds into tech jobs and are being upskilled and are being empowered to believe that a tech career is even on the table for them. They're bringing skills that we can't deliver in 10 to 12 weeks to the table. Right. And so what that has led to, and what's really interesting about it, is we have a 95% plus placement rate, which is great. 95%
after 90
of the people,
days they get picked up, or after they get paid, after they're at their client.
After they go through the apprenticeship, 95% they get picked up with the client. And here's the real kicker: we have a 89.7, 90% 4-year retention rate with our clients. So when they leave us and go to our clients, get taken on full time by our clients, on average across all of our placements, 4 years later they're still there 90% of the time.
I mean, that's obviously, those numbers are phenomenal. What do you attribute that to? Is it the investment in that person, that they really feel that from the get-go people have cared about their path and their development?
I think it's, fundamentally what we do, right? We're an IT consulting company. That's the way we make money, right? So we bill our clients for the hours worked, just like Accenture would do for their client, whatever.
Sure.
But really what we are is a workforce development, talent enablement solution for clients, for universities, for communities, for states, et cetera. And the interesting thing about that is what we believe is kind of, our mission is to close the opportunity gap in tech, right? And what we believe is that talent is widespread. They're smart, driven, high aptitude, intelligent people everywhere. Any rural area, any inner city, any suburb, whatever, opportunity is not widely distributed.
Yeah.
So is there a way for us to achieve our mission directly by bringing opportunity to talent, as opposed to forcing talent to find opportunity?
Right.
So we're empowering more people to believe that a tech career is possible. We're providing a clearly articulated pathway to that career, and we're going to talk about this later. I think we're removing hurdles from a cost perspective, from a time to completion perspective, from that pathway. And so I think it's a it's a combination of the fundamentals of our model. It's backwards mapped from the actual needs of employers, right? So you're the perfect fit for whatever client it is. So they want to
start
keep
at the outcome and work backwards.
Exactly.
How do you, obviously I think the statistics, almost 60% of your workforce is considered diverse. Where does that come from? Like, where is the effort to go recruit and invite that population into your program?
Yeah, I think, you look at some of the numbers, and it is in tech specifically, high tech. We use MC data, of course, and Burning Glass. If you look at really specifically software engineering, software development, other related fields, it's about 4%, according to MC, about 4% of the national workforce is Black and African American talent. I don't remember the exact number. I think it's 6 or 7% is Hispanic American talent. 22% is female talent, right? 60% of all undergraduate degrees, almost 60%, 57.5% of all undergraduate degrees every year in this country are awarded to women. 20% of computer science degrees are awarded to women, right? 7,700 total degrees in computer science are awarded to Black and African American talent in this country, out of 2 million undergraduate degrees awarded yearly, right? 7,700 of them. So we talk about, there's a diversity challenge, there's a D&I challenge in tech, and those are all, it's true, and there are good, significant, and not good reasons, but there are legitimate reasons for that, whether they're systemic or active or otherwise. But the bottom line is we have to empower more people to believe that tech careers are possible, regardless of your degree or your circumstances. And so what we try to do.
So how are you doing that? Like, where do you go to a different? If you're going to 2- and 4-year institutions, are you targeting different 2- and 4-year institutions that other potential employers?
I think yes, for sure. We're not the best pathway for a 3.5 GPA computer science major from UT Austin, right? They're going to get picked up. And I think the other thing is that we're not necessarily the best pathway for a computer science major with a 2.5 GPA from an elite school or an HBCU or whatever. Those folks, the talent crunch is such that folks who are already interested in tech
with the CS degree
they're getting jobs,
just fine,
right? And so what we're doing is we are fundamentally shifting our strategy to target folks that just need to know that this is possible. And we're eliminating hurdles. So we're not the right pathway in general for people that have $18,000 to throw at a boot camp. Right, we're not certainly not the right pathway for somebody that has a bachelor's of computer science.
So there's some self-selection going on too. Then I would imagine that you're just attracting a group that this is one of the best options they have out there to get into a tech career.
Right, and I think one of the things that is really important that we're trying to do is take earn and learn to the next level to some extent. Because really what we're doing is an earn and learn pathway. It's not accredited. Right. But it's still certainly learning. I can tell you, but I put the curriculum package together for the PACE program that we launched recently, which is a community college to bachelor's degree completion to work experience to career pathway. And I'll explain in a second, but I've done some curriculum reviews in my day, and what we're delivering is significant. I mean, it is intense, and it's hard. It's not an easy thing, right? This is a challenge. That's why the outcomes are so good.
Right.
And what we're doing with PACE is we're hiring people with associate's degrees, which we do, but we're making it a point. Associate's degree holding or granting institutions are on the whole significantly more diverse than 4-year degree granting institutions, if you look at the numbers. And what we've now done is we've aligned our apprenticeship, our training, 3 months of training, to up to 30 credit hours towards a bachelor's degree in prior learning assessment. Because it's a job, right? We're hiring them. It's a full-time job. It's work-based learning. And then we're paying for the remaining 30 credit hours that these folks need to take to get their bachelor's degree in IT or their bachelor's degree in cybersecurity.
And they'll do that concurrent.
And they do it online while they're working for us,
yeah,
making money, getting work experience. So effectively, what we've now done, I'm just using this as an example to answer your question, effectively what we've now done is created an environment where you can graduate from high school and then get an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, 7 to 9 industry certifications, a bunch of credit towards a bachelor's, a job with a health, dental, vision, 401k, and be on track to me making a lot of money in a career that's future-proof at a very large and established Fortune 500 or similarly sized organization. And you can do it all in less than 4 years and for no out-of-pocket cost beyond whatever you paid for your associates.
So effectively what you're saying there is we're presenting a case for an alternative to the classic 4-year bachelor degree path.
It's a compression, right?
Yeah.
It's subversion's not the right word. It's a alternative model, there are always going to be people, like I had a lot of fun in college, right? There are always going to be folks that want to go have that traditional experience and hang out on campus, and that's awesome. And if you can do it, then good for you, and that's really cool. That's never been the best option for most people, and it certainly continues to not be. So I think we're providing not just a good option. The idea here is that we're trying to provide the home run option for those that need it.
Is that the trend? I mean, if we project out 5 or 10 years, you guys have evolved in the 8 to 10 you've been around.
Sure.
Imagine the models evolved through those years. What do you think it looks like potentially in 5 years or 10 years?
I think there are a bunch of different ways that it can go. I spent a lot of time in higher ed. I grew up in higher ed. My mom was in higher ed as a kid, moved around a bunch. And I have a deep and abiding love, especially for liberal arts education. And I think there are a lot of things that we can deliver in 10 to 12 weeks. And there are a lot of things that take longer than that, right?
Yeah.
It's not reasonable to assume that you can deliver every human skill that exists in 10 weeks while also turning somebody into a software engineer, right? We do deliver a lot of human skills because we want people to be hireable and have future-proof careers and long-term opportunities. But I will say, I think there's a tremendous opportunity to create ecosystems or create an ecosystem for tech talent enablement. And I think there are obviously opportunities to iterate on that in other fields, wherein universities, colleges, higher educational institutions generally can participate and be a huge portion of that talent market. I think it requires a lot of participation from the universities themselves, right? And I think there needs to be some change.
Their model has to change a little bit, right? For them.
Yeah, and I think we can help, right? I think other companies like us can help. There are 100,000 jobs in tech that go unfilled every year, right? And I would love to be able to hire 100,000 people every year and put them through this model, and maybe we'll get there one day. But right now, we're
so the model is mostly. I mean, you've evolved the model to the point where you see a new way, and that way, like, you've got another 5 years to continue to tweak this. You don't see anything dramatically different. Where you guys
the fundamentals of the model, the earn and learn fundamentals, apprenticeship fundamentals of the model, I think have to. Obviously, things will change, of course, but I think have to stay somewhat constant as the core or the foundation of what this is built on. But the pathing capabilities, the empowerment capabilities, the fact that we can provide free training to kids in 8th grade or 12th grade or whatever the research is saying is the best year to go back to, and empower folks and help people understand that these exist, to start working with employers and clients to help them understand that, if you want to be serious about hiring Black and African American talent, then requiring relocation for that talent is really going to hinder you. If requiring 4-year degrees is really going to hinder you. 76, 77% of Black talent in this country doesn't have a 4-year degree, right? Yeah. So we're dealing with realities, and I think there are lots of things that have to change, but we're in a very interesting time right now where the need for talent is such that change is happening quickly, and the powers that be that are traditionally resistant to it aren't really anymore.
Yeah, have to reduce. When do you guys study outcomes, especially particularly talking about the African American community? Do you see any outcome results back into the communities where they're coming from?
Absolutely.
Have you been tracking that?
Yeah, so a lot of it's been anecdotal. We're getting better, right? As we scale, trying to obviously improve systems. One of the challenges that we have is that when they leave us and they go off on their career, which is the goal here, they don't work for us anymore, right? Right. So, and that's the point.
They don't check back.
We do survey. We do tons of surveys, and that's how we are managed to capture some of this data. But absolutely, with respect to generational wealth building, with respect to outcomes from a financial perspective, and also, of course, from a career trajectory perspective, these are future-proof jobs, right? These are jobs that aren't going to go away anytime soon. And from a wealth building perspective, we're not just building wealth, we're also attacking the student debt problem. So one of the real big issues with equity of access to higher education is, even with funding available through FAFSA, through federal student loans, et cetera, then you're saddled with, on average, $29,000 in debt when you finish your degree. Well, if
you finish, right?
If you finish, right? Often you're saddled with more debt than that, and you don't have anything to show for it.
Right.
And so it's a great point. And so what we're trying to do is a double impact. We're trying to approach this problem from let's eliminate student debt, let's increase attainment outcomes, and let's track people into higher paying jobs and careers as part of a pathway that, again, is the right fit for the right audience. And if we can do that, we're attacking the problem from both ends, right? You're eliminating the debt and you're increasing earnings.
We say, at Interplay, we talk, our mission every day is better careers, better lives, right? And we know if we can help people gain access to a career that they couldn't otherwise, or upskill and get promoted and make more money, it leads to a better life. And that's our worldview. And it sounds like Revature wakes up with a pretty similar mission every day.
It is. I got to be honest. I came from an industry that basically did a lot of marketing. That's effectively what I did, and I loved my time in that industry, and I spent a lot of formative years and all that stuff. I came to Reverture and I realized I wasn't passionate about anything I was doing. That juxtaposition of what we do here, what we're trying to accomplish, is. I mean, we're incredibly privileged. I'm incredibly privileged in a lot of ways, but to work at Reverture and to have the team that I have and to work with the people I work with, because we have the unique opportunity to impact people's lives financially and also impact entire communities. Right? We have the opportunity, I believe this, again, this is my opinion, so take it for what it's worth. We have the opportunity to recreate the middle class in this country. And in doing so, eliminate a lot of the financial pitfalls that we've kind of generated for ourselves in the last 30 years.
It's really interesting to hear, thinking of skilled talent, and you referred to it as skilled trades earlier. We obviously focus more as a company on electricians, plumbers, and facility maintenance, et cetera. And we think of that as middle class, and it's really interesting to think about the other skill sets, which is, tech, coding in this level as similar and running parallel. It's really
and we had 7% inflation in this country this year, right? Or whatever it is, 7.4, going up by the day. And you look at prevailing wage rates for mid-career software developer, right? 150, 170,000, whatever it is. I believe that the reality is that is probably upper middle class, right? And of course, welders and plumbers and electricians can do really well. They're great career trajectories and career paths. I believe that there's a difference. I think I mentioned this. That software engineering and development gets lumped into quantum physics all the time in the higher ed world, and that's how it's thought of. But it isn't that. This is a doable thing. Like, these are things that if you have logic and reasoning abilities, you can do this. And the beauty of it is, of course, this depends on industry. The beauty of this is, like, if you're a structural engineer, you got to go to site, right? You can do these jobs remotely from home.
From your community.
We've of course blown that out in the last 2 years. So huge, absolutely tremendous implications for rural populations, for populations on tribal lands and Native American populations, for folks in job deserts. It's not really a term, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a term now.
Yeah, there are amazing opportunities for us as a company, again, but for us as an industry. We have been proving for the last 10 years that industry investment in workforce development is the only way to solve the opportunity gap. And if we can continue to prove that, and by the way, it's less expensive, your bottom line actually ends up better off if you invest in talent, because your churn goes down, 90% retention rate, because your hiring costs ends up going down if you solve for these issues, and you end up doing better. We happen to be set up to where our entire business model is dependent on the success of the people we train. But ultimately, I think what should be happening, companies should be funding the local computer science program or cloud computing program.
And I think you see that now. I think you see the employers getting closer to the ground there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just not waiting for a product, which is their hiree, to pop out of some other system. They're trying to get into the system and help influence that.
Yeah, and it's because it's necessary.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think we got lucky. The metaphorical we again. I wasn't here.
Right.
But 9-10 years ago, when our current CEO, and the founder, and his partner started this model in the U.S., it was pretty significantly far ahead of its time, right?
And
it grew, but it grew relatively slowly. And then we started to see people started to take notice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the talent crunch started to gain steam. And now we're right in the middle of it. And guess what? Our clients are coming to us for thousands and thousands of roles, but the nuance is they're coming to us for thousands and thousands of Revature trained roles. Right? Because of the capabilities, the day one readiness capabilities we have to bring to the table. Because honestly, you can get out of a computer science degree at the best university in America, whatever university we want to say that is. And you won't have Spring, microservices, SQL, DevOps, Hibernate. That's what we bring to the table, right?
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
It's important.
Well, it's awesome. Kennon, I appreciate the time today.
Yeah,
Really
absolutely.
enjoyed it.
Better careers, better lives.